you, Frank. What a really beautiful way to begin our service this morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the donor ceremony of thanks. My name is Mark Brooks, and I am the program director, and I want to begin this morning by saying, on behalf of the UC Irvine School of Medicine Willed Body Program, faculty, staff, and our entire medical school class, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to each of you this morning. We tell our families and prospective donors all of the time that we cannot do what we do without donors. And today, I think through our many speakers, you're going to hear just how true that is. But what is also true, and we don't say this very often, but it is true, we couldn't do what we do were it not for the family and friends, folks like yourself, who have ultimately been willing to give us the privilege of benefiting from your loved one. Today's service is meant to recognize the value of every donor gift to the university. In support of what you're going to hear is a very, very big mission. But it's also meant to express our gratitude to you today. Now, we're going to say thanks in many ways today through our words. But I think the way that we say thanks best is by receiving your loved one as the gift that they were meant to be. You see, I think it's through our actions, in many ways, that are going to speak louder than the words that we say, because I think we say thanks when we support our incoming medical students who learn human anatomy because somebody was willing to make the decision to be a donor. And that education serves as a foundation for the rest of their curriculum and the beginning of their careers. But I also think we say thanks when we support our allied health professionals, people like nurses and physical therapists, paramedic students who learn life-saving skills, all because somebody made a decision to be a donor. I think we say thanks when we support resident education as a teaching hospital, and I think we say thanks when we provide continuing medical education opportunities, not just to our own physicians, but to physicians around the communities and state and even around the country. All benefit because somebody made a decision to be a donor. And I think we say thanks when we support novel research, the kind of stuff that wouldn't happen perhaps if somebody had not made a decision to be a donor. And I also think we say thanks when your loved one supports the many local colleges that likewise rely on the generosity of a donor to the University of California, Irvine. It's a big mission. The need is great, and the gift really is precious. I think that it's an extraordinary gift. Now, that word extraordinary gets used a lot to describe a lot of things, but I think this, by definition, is extraordinary when you consider how few people make the decision to be a donor. In fact, it's thought historically only about 1% of all people have been donated to a medical school. Think about that. And while that number is a little higher in California, 1%. That makes what your loved one did extraordinary. One of the questions I get asked a lot when people find out what I do is, well, where do you get the bodies? Where do the donors come from? And I have to admit, I thought that was kind of an odd question. Why are people asking me that? But as I thought about the question, what I realized is, you see, more than the science and the education it supports, people immediately recognize that this must be a rare and a brave choice. You see, it was the very decision itself to be a donor that touched people the most. We have a memorial site not too far from here, and in fact, on the back of your program, there are directions to it. And if you haven't visited this site, I would encourage you to do so, because it's really a great place for families to remember. But it's also an important reminder to our faculty and staff of the importance that donors serve in accomplishing our mission. But on one of the pieces, there is a saying, we make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give. Donors teach us important anatomy lessons. You're going to hear about that today. But let's face it, a lot of those lessons over time will be forgotten. But what I think won't be forgotten is that somebody made a decision, a rare and extraordinary decision, to be a donor. And that's a lesson that we're not going to forget, and that's one that we want to celebrate today. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Fiorito.
And my name is Sachi Krishna, and we're the co-presidents of the first-year class of medical students at the University of California, Irvine School of Medicine. It is an indescribable honor and pleasure to be with you today, and to have the chance to introduce the perspectives of our classmates, deans, and colleagues, while they share how meaningful the Willed Body program has been for them. Thank you very much in advance for your time and for your attention.
We'd first like to start with Dr. Kanban Lee Buckland. She is the Vice Dean for Medical Education at the UCI School of Medicine. As the Vice Dean, she oversees the education of over 400 medical students and 700 resident physicians at UCI. Please welcome Dr. Lee Buckland to the podium.
On behalf of the UC Irvine School of Medicine, I would like to thank you for being here today as we celebrate your loved ones and their vital contributions to the education of our students. We are honored that your family and friends chose UCI for their very special donation, and we hold firm to our promise that this gift has and will make a difference in medicine. Today, UC Irvine School of Medicine ranks among the top medical schools in the country. As the Vice Dean for Medical Education, one of my primary responsibilities is to ensure that over 400 medical students each year are receiving the highest quality medical education available. Along with over 700 residents and fellows, our medical students are among the best and brightest in the country. These brilliant students are future primary care providers, medical specialists, and surgeons. Some will go on to conduct groundbreaking research. Others will find their passion in caring for patients in underserved and rural communities. Wherever our students may land, your loved ones are silent teachers that help prepare these future physicians to provide world-class health care to their patients. I want to leave you with this thought. I completed medical school almost 30 years ago. And to this day, I still remember my anatomy class and my own silent teacher. In today's ceremony, you will hear from our students. You will hear how your loved ones have taught them so much more than anatomy. Your family and friends have taught our students to reflect on their role as physicians, to understand the power and limits of medicine, and most importantly, to honor their oath to respect all patients in living and dying. Your loved ones have become a vital part of each student's professional identity formation. Because of this, wherever our students go from here, Your family and friends will be an enduring part of not just what they know, but who they are. And like my own silent teacher, your loved ones will always, always hold a very special place in their hearts. Thank you.
Next, we have Allison Lawrence. Allison Lawrence is a third-year medical student who completed anatomy in 2024. Outside of medicine, she is passionate about creative writing, especially capturing the humanistic impacts of medicine and health. Her poems and short stories have been published in multiple UCI School of Medicine literary magazines. Today, she will be reading her poem entitled Somebody's Word for Holy, that she wrote as an MS1 at the conclusion of the anatomy course that she took, which seeks to honor donors for their immense gift that impacts so many lives beyond our own. Please welcome Allison.
Somebody's word for holy. There are windows in the new anatomy lab. Opaque, of course, and rather small, dark silhouettes of leaves pressed against frosty glass, only hinting at a teeming world outside. Still, the muted white rays are enough to cast something less sterile across the space, some aged warmth that resists the cool steel tables and sharp blades. As we pull back the white sheet covering your face, it is you who glows the brightest in the room. The rare sunlight gaining strength as it beams across your brow, radiates down your cheeks, illuminates crow's feet and laughter lines, dances lovingly over eyes it once twinkled. In this light, you can be nothing short of somebody's word for holy. Beckoning us closer, urging us not to fear the touch of another's skin, you are somebody's word for angel, sending forth a gentle sentinel to grasp their shaking hands and warm the cold in their bones. As you welcome us to feel the contours of your throat, teaching us patiently to let the grooves of your trachea guide our tubes, you are the answer to somebody's word for prayer, maintaining the rise and fall of tired lungs, preserving sighs, laughter, and I love yous. Ever the patient mentor, trusting us to touch your heart, challenging us to find our strength as we squeeze it tighter. You are sent by somebody's word for God, restarting the rhythmic drum to be heard once more by tender ears pressed against frail chests. You are somebody's good karma. You are somebody's stroke of luck, somebody's miracle. However they name the joy that emanates from your gift, sleep peacefully knowing this. You have become somebody's word for holy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Lee. I will be studying for Joseph today. I am a third-year medical student, and I'm interested in applying to internal medicine. Just wanted to, before I play, just give a little speech. I really want to thank everyone for being here today, and just wanted to say, give a really big appreciation to all the people that have donated. So I took the anatomy course in 2024, and it was a really special experience. I will never forget the first day I was in anatomy lab. It was a very intense, but also very rewarding experience because I got to learn a lot, and it's something I'll take away with me for the rest of my life as I become a physician. A little background about me. I started playing the violin when I was in 3rd grade. My dad was my violin teacher, and then I actually originally wanted to be a violinist, but then my dad got cancer and unfortunately passed away when I was 14. And since then, actually was not able to pick up the violin for many years until a couple years ago when I decided to play the violin again. And so playing the violin is a really special part of my life because it reminds me of my father and also reminds me of kind of why I went into medicine. For me, music is kind of like my way of connecting with the world, and also it goes hand in hand with medicine because I feel like it's a great way to help people recover and heal. So the piece I'll be playing is called Meditation Entice. It's largely a part of a play. Normally you play it with an orchestra or a piano, but unfortunately it's just me today. So I'll be doing it a cappella. I like playing a cappella sometimes because you really have to like focus. And there's like no like kind of like safety net sometimes with an accompaniment. So you're really just on your own, but I hope you guys enjoy.
Thank you, Frank, for a wonderful musical piece. We would now like to introduce Dr. Sarah Sternezzer. Dr. Sternezzer is a board-certified UCI health neurologist and neurointensivist who cares for patients in the neuroscience intensive care unit. She also serves as the anatomy course co-director at the School of Medicine and the vice chair of education for the Department of Neurology. A nationally recognized educator, Dr. Sternezzer is dedicated to advancing medical education and supporting the next generation of clinicians. She is also the granddaughter of a donor to a willed body program. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Sternezzer to speak with us today.
Thank you, Alex. Last year at Thanksgiving, as we were eating an overabundance of pie, my mom's good friend Harry suddenly started to feel ill. He became sweaty, lightheaded, and was taken by ambulance to the hospital. His blood counts were dangerously low. An artery was leaking into his belly, causing his blood pressure to drop to life-threatening levels. Harry was taken emergently for a procedure that involves threading a wire into his arteries and blocking off the bleeding vessel. It saved his life. Back in his hospital room, Larry's blood pressure stabilized and his color returned. The doctor who had saved his life came to check on him, and my mother, being my mother, bragged, "My daughter is also a doctor." They started talking, my mother describing that I'm a professor at UC Irvine. To her surprise, the doctor replied, "Oh, Dr. Sternezzer was my teacher when I was a student." That doctor learned the intricacies of the arterial system right here in our anatomy lab. From a donor, someone who made this gift years ago, never knowing whose life they would help save. Not just Harry that day, but countless patients before and since. The person who donated their body will never know about that Thanksgiving, will never know that their gift echoed forward into a moment of crisis and became the difference between life and death. I teach anatomy to medical students. Every year I watch them enter the lab for the first time, nervous, uncertain, reverent. And I'm struck by the same profound truth. The individuals who donate their body are performing one of the most extraordinary acts of faith I can imagine. Think about what this gift really means. These are people who will never meet the students they teach. They will never know whose hands they guided, whose careers they shaped, whose patients they helped heal. And yet they choose to give anyway. They place their trust in us, in our students, in medicine itself, in the belief that this sacrifice will ripple forward into a future they won't be around to see. This is humanity at its absolute best. Not the grand gestures we perform for recognition, but the quiet conviction that we can help people we will never meet. The faith that these acts truly matter, that they improve the future, even if we cannot predict how. And here's what still amazes me. In our anatomy lab, these donors remain present, not as memories, but as teachers, patient, generous, essential. They guide every incision, every discovery, every moment of understanding. When our students learn to see the breathtaking complexity of the human body, when they develop the skills and reverence that will define their careers as physicians, this is the gift of our donors. These donors exemplify the old Greek proverb that society grows great when old men and women plant trees in whose shade they know they can never sit. We are creatures capable of profound generosity. We can put our faith in the unknown. We can invest in futures we won't inhabit. And we can trust that even when we are gone, we can still matter, still serve, still make the world better. That optimism, that faith, and that conviction, it's what makes medicine possible. And it's what makes us at our very best human. To every donor and every family here today, thank you. Your gift is teaching us still. And that's the beautiful uncertainty of this gift. We'll never know all the ways it will matter, all the lives it will save, but you trusted that it would, and you are right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sternezzer. I'd like to introduce Dr. Nitin Bhatia. He's chief of the UCI Health Orthopedic Spine Services. He's also chair and professor of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at UCI School of Medicine. The Comprehensive Spine Center has been recognized for national leadership in treatment, research, and education. Dr. Bhatia is also a faculty member at the UC Irvine Surgical Education Center. As part of our medical school curriculum, we receive hands-on training on the newest developments in surgical technology at this center. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Bhatia.
Perfect. Good morning. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. It's an honor to stand with you, with all of you here today at the UCI Willed Body Program Ceremony of Thanks. It's a true pleasure to speak in recognition of the extraordinary individuals whose gifts make medical education possible and surgical training more adept in today's modern times. In my role as chair of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery, as well as my role as director of our cadaveric training program at UC Irvine Surgical Education, and my previous role as residency program director, education is paramount to what my job has been in my 22 years here. But the question we always get is, how do we train physicians, and specifically surgeons and people doing procedures? Sure, we've got textbooks, we've got videos, we have lectures on YouTube, and those are all fine starting points. But in the end, there must be true hands-on learning, and that's where our cadaveric educational program comes in. Throughout all of these other mechanisms of learning, anatomic simulators, artificial intelligence, that help us with our decision-making process, help us with hand-eye coordination, and provide us non-realistic human training modules. Why do we need our donors? Why do we need these human bodies to still learn on? Well, for any of you who've played a video game, whether the very fancy modern ones that are lifelike, maybe Pong or some of the racing games that I grew up with, you know those games are not going to teach you how to drive a car. My 6-year-old daughter, God bless her, she's a very good driver, but I would not have trusted her on the streets if she only learned through a video game, a YouTube lecture, or, God forbid, ChatGPT. You still have to get your hands on it, and that's because doing things in real life is just that, it's real. So the magnitude of the impact is greater, the fear is greater, the repercussions are greater, and that's why having donors who provide bodies for our cadaveric training program is that important, because it's real. So such is the importance of the Willed Body Program and its effect on our education and educational opportunities at UCI Health. Our training lab has upwards of 1,000 trainees who come through per year. Now that includes medical students, it includes our residents who are our training doctors, fellows, it includes professors like myself who might be learning how to hone a skill before a very specialized surgery or develop a new technique. We have hundreds of people who travel from across America and throughout the world to come to this opportunity. I tell you, the opportunity for this kind of education is actually fairly rare. And we at UCI Health are able to provide it because of everyone in this room and your family members. In surgical education, there is no substitute for this gift. Textbooks, simulations, and technology are valuable, and we're learning how to use them more and more every day. But they cannot fully replicate the depth of understanding that we gain through anatomic study. Your loved ones continue to advance science. They advance our skills and advance our compassion. And they remain in a very, very real way part of every life helped by the clinicians who are trained here. We gather today because of generosity at its highest level. Body donation is a final act of teaching and a decision not made for recognition, as the one who has donated will likely not know the person who is learning from them and vice versa. But rather, every physician and medical student who learns in the lab does so through this silent mentorship of your loved ones. This contribution is not abstract. It directly shapes safer surgeries, better judgment, steadier hands, and ultimately better patient outcomes today and in the future. To the families and friends present, we recognize that this gift is from you as well. It comes with trust, courage, and love. On behalf of the physicians, students, and future patients who will benefit, thank you. We carry a deep responsibility to treat every donor with dignity, respect, and gratitude, and I can assure you we take that responsibility very seriously. This morning, remember not only what was given, but why it matters. Their legacy lives on in knowledge, lives on in healing, and in generations of care that will follow. Thank you all very much.
We would now like to introduce 5 of our first-year classmates to share reflections on their time spent in the anatomy lab. Firstly, we'd like to welcome James Schmidt to speak with us about his experience.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for entrusting your family members to us in our education. I want to be honest with you guys. Public speaking is not really in my forte and a little bit out of my comfort zone. Standing here talking about something so deeply personal it's really hard. And when I volunteered for this event, I sent an email, and I imagined greeting you at the door, helping put up the little hearts or clean up. But the response I got was, "Wonderful, James. We'll have you be one of our student speakers." And that wasn't really what I had planned. And for a few months, I'll admit, I considered finding someone else to take my place. Then I realized that that would be an incredible disservice to you and your family members. They made an extraordinary sacrifice. They offered their own flesh and blood so that I could learn. And for me not to step up and talk about how much that meant to me would just be insulting that gift. So here are my thoughts and feelings. Just about this speech, day 1 in anatomy lab was really hard. But luckily I joined a group of 2 friends, Adrian and Joe. And we started the journey together. At first, I struggled. I took multiple breaks. I stepped outside for air and fresh water. And I thought I was being nonchalant and hiding it all, but I realized that there was just nothing to hide. It was okay to have real human emotion in that space. And that's what I did. But really what meant the most to me were the 2 people that noticed I struggled, and they supported me and gave me the space to go at my own pace. And where all the white coats in the corner, I know Joe and Adrian are there. Thank you guys for helping me. Now, over time, I did become acclimated. It didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't easy. We were told from the beginning that your mom, dad, grandparent, or loved one would be our first patient. But a part of me hurt seeing them on the table in front of me. And as the months went on, I started reading their stories, and I learned who they were. I had assumed that most donors would be from healthcare, and it was really remarkable to see that everybody had their own unique path that brought them there. And then a few weeks ago, Dr. Denton said something in a lecture that completely changed my perspective. He reminded us that the people in front of us were our first patient, and yes, I knew that. But he added something different. He said what we were doing in anatomy lab wasn't treating our first patient, but it was also providing the last care that your family members would ever receive. And that sentence completely reframed the previous 5 months for me. Every day when I went downstairs in the lab, I had thought about these generous people donating themselves so that one day I'd be a better physician. But Dr. Denton helped me realize that that perspective was flawed. It was one-sided. I was taking knowledge without fully realizing that I was also giving. I was providing care to your loved ones. It was one final act of medicine and one final touch from a healing hand. And looking back now, as I am standing here today, I'm really glad I stuck with this speech. Even though I'm shaking and my palms are sweaty, I've taken the time to reflect on what I've learned. Medically, yes, but also emotionally and spiritually has been really empowering. It's helped me understand the profound gift that I received, the knowledge I've gained, and the way I've grown. And it's all because of someone that you love. So I want to thank them and I really want to thank you. Thank you for sharing them with us, and thank you for supporting them, and thank you for being here today to honor them.
Thank you, James. We would now like to introduce Micah Tratt, a first-year medical student, to share his experience.
Good morning, everyone. In reflecting on my experience with the anatomy course this year, I was reminded of a specific word from my Jewish education, chesed. In English, it's often translated to kindness, but it has a more specific meaning. It's loving kindness, given without expectation of return. It's used to describe the neighbor who brings a meal when you're sick, not for praise, but simply because it makes the world a brighter place. When I look at this room filled with friends and family members, I realize I'm looking at the result of a collective act of chesed. Your loved ones, with your blessing, gave their bodies to us, strangers they would never meet without asking for anything in return. They all made a conscious decision to do a mitzvah, a good deed, to teach me and my classmates how to better care for our future patients. I'd like to take a step back to undergrad, where my anatomy education first started. There, I met my first patient, a donor named Charles. Walking into the closet turned makeshift anatomy lab in the science department basement for the first time was a sensory shock. Our conversations about what our first time meeting Charles would look like did not prepare me. The air was heavy, the smell was foreign. It was so overwhelming that one of my classmates fainted. I find that in situations so proximal to death, it's easy to retreat into the science. You can focus on arteries, nerves, the list of Latin names. You can try to protect yourself with a layer of clinical detachment. But I don't think that's what Charles would have wanted. I could have gotten the clinical trivia from learning anatomy virtually or online. As we began to dissect, my hands were unsteady, nervous to make a mistake. I subconsciously held Charles's hand to position his arm better in the light. In that quiet moment, the content we learned in the classroom fell away. I looked at the lines on his palm and the texture of his skin. It told his story. Holding Charles's hand, I realized that he had already trusted me. He trusted me to learn from him. He trusted me as a means not to rote learning or passing my class, but to see him as a person who had lived, loved, and died. His body told his stories, and he wanted me to carry them with me. He wanted me to carry them with me. This year in medical school, that lesson has deepened. Some things have not changed. The start of every dissection is still terrifying. I'm afraid I don't have the knowledge base to begin. I'm afraid I will mess up a structure that I will need to learn and teach back to my classmates. But in those moments of fear, I'm reminded of the lesson I learned from Charles. That true professionalism is not always about performance, but about presence. There's pressure in medicine to know the answer immediately, to be quick. But the anatomy lab has been the highlight of my medical education because it teaches us something different. When we're in the lab, your loved ones force us to slow down. They teach us that we cannot rush through the human body. They teach us that we must be gentle before we can be confident. We stand around the tables, tired and stressed, but we're united by profound respect for the person in front of us. We are listening to the story your loved ones are telling us about how life works. This experience has shaped the kind of doctor that I want to be. In other courses this year, the lens through which we are taught frames everything as a problem, a clinical vignette in which there is something to be solved. But I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that not every question demands an immediate answer. Your loved ones have taught me how to sit with those questions. They've taught me that being a doctor isn't just about technical skill. It's about having the time, space, and humility to engage with the patient's humanity. By being here today, by celebrating your loved ones, you are participating in their memory. And by learning from them, I'm participating in it too. when I eventually walk into a clinic to treat a living patient, when I have to navigate the gray areas of illness and fear, Charles and your loved ones will be in the room with me. They have taught me that my authority doesn't come from a white coat, a degree, or an exemplary grade. It comes from the chesed, the loving kindness of those who allowed me to learn from them. Your loved ones gave my peers and me the gift of their bodies so that I could learn to use my hands with purpose, but most importantly, to become physicians who operate with the same chesed that they showed all of us. And I promise you that neither my classmates nor I plan to let that gift go to waste. Thank you.
Finally, please join us in hearing the thoughts of Emily Che, Dane DeWan, and Ian L.
Thank you. I describe the Willed Body program as the singular most amount of learning I have gotten from any experience. I recently went to a talk that mentioned a new technology that mentioned the brachial artery. I don't remember much of the talk, but what I do remember is thinking, I have seen exactly where that is in the human body. How special is that? How many people in the world can say the same? Ever since my first visit to the anatomy lab, I have been constantly struck by the kindness and generosity of our donors and our families. Our donors continue to give so much beyond their lives. In lab, I feel surrounded by their wishes for us to learn, to get better, to care, to serve. I enter the anatomy lab every week with a reminder to myself to become a physician who honors them, to learn everything to the utmost best of my capabilities, and to draw on the kindness of the donors and families to become a skilled, compassionate, caring physician who sees good in patients even in the worst of times, who sits with patients in moments of pain and sorrow, and works with them towards better solutions and treatments. I truly believe I am becoming a physician on the backs of giants, giants I will keep in my mind and heart forever.
Today is a day that I've looked forward to since our very first time in the anatomy lab last fall. Today marks an opportunity, excuse me, to express my deepest gratitude to the living relatives and loved ones of my very first patient. I am honored and humbled by the gifts of those for whom we are gathered here today to celebrate. Their final act in life was one of infinite generosity and kindness, an investment to future generations and patients they will never know. This is altruism manifest. Families, you should know that your loved ones were studied with attention, care, and compassion. Indeed, I spent countless hours cleaning fascia off of muscles and tracing vasculature, duty-bound to be meticulous with our donors. But I am a first-year medical student, and I started anatomy with a few weeks of classes under my belt. I'm not perfect. There were times I sliced through a delicate nerve with my scalpel, overzealous, or tore a tiny muscle trying to separate it from its neighbors. In the operating room, such a mistake might cause injury or death. But in the anatomy lab, these moments reveal the true nature of our donors' gifts. As Dr. Stern-Nezer said best during our first week, you cannot hurt a cadaver. Through these teaching moments, our donors grant us the knowledge and experience to become better physicians. Physicians who will someday prevent injury and death. We might save lives someday. On behalf of myself, my entire class, and my future patients, thank you.
First, I'd like to echo what my fellow students have already said and offer a sincere thank you. Your loved ones' gifts are a foundational part of our education and of our journey towards becoming physicians. The first week of medical school was full of excitement and conversation, people sharing where they'd come from, where they hoped to go, and the anticipation of starting something new. There's a lot of energy and conversation in the room. However, on the first day of anatomy lab, when we all entered together, that energy shifted. The chatter stopped, and you could hear a pin drop. In that moment, almost instinctively, we came to a shared understanding. What laid before us was more than just a class. It was a trust placed in our hands. That quiet moment was when we began to understand the weight of this gift, that your loved ones would teach us not just anatomy, but respect, humility, and care. Lessons that will stay with us long after the lab and into every patient we will one day serve. So thank you for trusting us with something so meaningful and for sharing your loved ones with us.
Very rarely, we have the opportunity to receive a letter directly from a donor. This letter actually arrived with the donor when he was brought to the UCI Anatomy Labs. I will now share his words and perspective on his life. To the wonderful students who will be working with my body, I just wanted to leave you a small note about myself. My name is Do Woo. I immigrated to this amazing country in 1970 from Seoul, Korea, which was still recovering from the war. We came here, just like many others, to find a better life, and we truly did. We moved to Mid-Wilshire, now Koreatown, and several other spots in greater Los Angeles while finding better jobs and housing with each and every move. I'm survived by my wife, 2 daughters, and 5 grandkids, all very special, beautiful, and kind human beings. Life was very good to me, aside from the Parkinson's I had. Maybe you can take a look at my brain for any clues on that. I was an artist and washed my hands in buckets of turpentine every day for over 10 years. Who knows if that had anything to do with it? I am very impressed by all of you for choosing this noble profession. I wish you the best of luck and that you all become excellent medical professionals. Best wishes to all of you, Do Woo. P.S. Life is pretty miraculous. Please don't forget to appreciate every moment, even the tough ones. Christopher Liu, if you'd like to begin your musical tribute.
Thank you, Christopher, for your tribute. Our next speaker is Mr. Benjamin Kwok. Mr. Kwok is the Associate Director of Admissions and Pipeline Initiatives at the UC Irvine School of Law. Ben has 3 family members who have donated to the Willed Body program. His father died in 2017, followed by his mother in 2023 and his sister in 2024. We are honored to have him speak with us today about their decision to be a silent teacher and part of the Willed Body program. Please join us in welcoming Mr. Ben Kwok.
Good morning, everyone. We've been hearing so much about what our loved one has given and gifted, and the amazing work of medicine in our lives and things like that. And as you heard my title, so to bring a little balance into the room, maybe I could talk about the importance of legal practice and attorneys and making a positive impact in the lives of those. That's not on the script. I just had to say, it's like bring a little humor into my speech, not back to the script. Unlike James, I did not volunteer to be asked. And when I was asked a few months ago, my first reaction was, no way. But out of respect for my parents and my sister, I already said, let me think about it. And thinking about it, because public speaking is not one of the things that I love to do, even though I do it decently often enough. But the reason why I said was because it gave me the opportunity to talk about the people I love dearly and how amazing they were. And I'm guessing this is a commonality for all of us that are here today. We are here because we knew someone amazing and they gave a priceless gift themselves. So I have a privilege to talk about my dad, James Kwok, mom, Chang Kwok, and sister, Young Kwok. Some of the most impactful events in our life happened because of my mom. Our family immigrated to the United States in 1983. My mom came first, and Dad, Young, and I followed. We started going to church because of her. God used her for us to get to know Him and Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. And we learned about UC Irvine School of Medicine's Willed Body program because of my mom. She's heard it in the Korean radio about the work of the Solemn Society. Oh, I should say, I saw some Koreans here, so I think my parents would appreciate if I say 안녕하세요. One day, she announced she wanted to donate her body when she died. So as any good mother who could not speak English well, she asked my sister, the reliable one, to look into it further. This was over 10 years ago. Like many immigrant families, my parents gave up an easier life in South Korea for a better opportunity and future here for their kids. My mother was a teacher, then a stay-at-home mom who became a seamstress when she immigrated to the United States. It wasn't easy, but it had some perks. She worked at home and with our family dog right next to her, and she got to listen to Korean radio every day. My dad worked in sales at a huge manufacturing company and made enough money so that his wife could stop working and be at home with the kids. After we immigrated, he worked under the sun as a poolman, owning an independent swimming pool maintenance service, and as yours truly as the assistant manager. He had a great tan, but also terrible tan lines. Young, my older sister, was a classic A-type. She took advantage of the opportunities our parents provided for us with their sacrifice. She attended UC Irvine as a Regent Scholar because they offered her the most money. She had other great options, but she didn't want to be a financial burden to our parents. So she earned her bachelor's degree as a double major in School of Social Ecology, summa cum laude. And after she passed, I got to look through her stuff, and I actually got to see her transcript and a couple of letters of recommendations from her professors. And I was very unhealthily jealous at her accomplishments and how much people loved her. And some of the letters of recommendations were like 10 years after she took the courses, and the professors remembered her. And after that, she also earned 2 more master's degrees. Dad gifted his body over 8 years ago, Mom 2 years ago, and Young a little over a year ago. Their reasons were similar, some partly practical. No funeral, no burial means no money involved. And my parents consistently told Young and I that, let's work for you, right? Like planning for those kind of things. So they were very thoughtful. But more importantly, as you heard, they love the idea of being silent teachers of doctors who will help others. Even in their death, they wanted to honor God by serving others through their bodies. And a little gift for me and my wife and my son, I've been to, as you know, there's 3 loved ones that passed, but I've been here like more than 4 times. And they never said no. We always ask and say, oh, when's the next one gonna be? Because this is kind of almost like therapy for me, and just remembering my loved ones and how they're almost like treasured by the medical school and the students. And it is so uplifting for me and my family that they were so loved and appreciated for the gift that they gave. Let's see, going back to what I was saying. So they really love the idea that they're helping doctors to heal and care for their patients. I don't know the reason why your loved ones gifted their bodies. I'm guessing it's very similar to the reasons that my loved ones did. But they might have their own specific reasons. But I think, one, I could confidently say that all of them did something good. They did something generous, and it's a great gift that they were great that we are here to remember and celebrate their gift and their kindness. The last thing I'll share is and I'm not getting paid for this. I wasn't asked to say this, but in the memorial, I do really also encourage all of you to visit if you are able to. I went there this morning before, and there was a family there. They're remembering their loved ones. But it's a beautiful, quiet, tranquil place. There is a cost if you want to have a brick or have other ways to honor them with their names. And UCI will start thinking that you're a wonderful donor, so they might ask you for more money later on. But with that said, it's well worth it, at least for me. And the reason why we initially got it was because my mom wanted a brick to remember her husband when he passed. And it really helped her with the grieving process that she did. And fortunately, we live locally, so I remember taking my mom and going with her 3 or 4 times a year to remember him, and for her to think about, shed some tears, and talk about the wonderful memories that we had, and how much she really valued my dad and appreciated him for who he was. So we were fortunate enough that we were able to get one when Mom passed away, and then Young passed away, and the program was very accommodating, and they were able to put their bricks really like right next to each other, and so it's been really fortunate, and I'm very thankful for that, and we're very thankful for that. So in some ways that might be helpful to you as well, if that is something that will help you through the process of remembering your loved ones and process of the loss as with their passing. And in the end, it is a wonderful, consistent way it has been for me to remember that one more thing that they did good before they left. So with that, thank you for your time, and blessings to you as you celebrate your loved one's generosity.
Dr. Cyrus Dastour is a board-certified UCI Health neurologist who specializes in neurocritical care. Dr. Dastour is also an associate professor of neurology and director of the medical ethics program at the UC Irvine School of Medicine. Dr. Dastour's son, Kash, recently died after a long fight with cancer. He made the choice to become a donor to the Willed Body program in 2025, and we are honored to have Dr. Dastour join us this morning. Please welcome him to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cyrus Dastour. I have the privilege of working here at UCI, where we're gathering to honor the generosity of the individuals and the families who donated to the program. And as you've heard, I'm also standing here as the father of a wonderful son, Kash, whose last wish was to help others by donating his body to the program. On September 7th of last year, what I realized just a few minutes ago was exactly 5 months ago to the day. My son Kash passed away at the age of 18 after battling metastatic osteosarcoma for 4 years. So I was asked to say what it meant to him to be part of the program. To be honest, I don't know, because I don't know exactly. We were not aware of his wish to donate. We know that we were told of this after he passed away. We were told of this by the hospice program the night he passed away. What we do know, and what we have come to see over more of this time, is the many ways he always strived to assist others, even while he was managing his own diagnosis. His final wish was an extraordinary act of generosity. He wanted his body to be used by the program to help further cancer research and education, hoping that through his gift, someone else may one day be spared from this disease. So I'm going to try to explain what we assume this decision meant for him and how important it was to him. As I said, he never told us about his intentions to donate. We only found out about it afterwards. He researched the program entirely on his own. He filled out all the paperwork on his own. We found it on his PC the day after. UCI was able to honor his final wish, and for that, my wife, my daughter, and I are extremely grateful. Kash's decision to participate in the program fits perfectly with the way he lived his life and what we know of him. He was always thinking of others. Even while undergoing his own chemotherapy, he was constantly searching for the ways to ease other patients' burdens. When his uncle wanted to organize a fundraiser in his name, Kash didn't just select the first charity he found online. He did extensive research, and he even created a table, a spreadsheet of all the various organizations, looking for the ones that had the minimal amount of overhead, so that the highest percentage of funds would actually go to research and not go to the endeavor itself. He volunteered as a counselor for other children who were newly diagnosed, so that he could share what he was going through and help to ease their burden. We even found on online communities like osteosarcoma and child cancer subgroups on Reddit that he would be reaching out to those that are struggling, offering words of support, sharing his journey, and just hoping to lighten the load just a little bit for someone else. His decision to donate his body was a final act of kindness and hope. He understood that medical education and research are vital in the fight against cancer, and that each new trainee, each new discovery brings us closer to the future where families might be spared the heartbreak that we were forced to endure. Even in death, Cash wanted to help others learn and to make a difference. My wife, Nashida, my daughter, Zara, and I are grateful to UCI for honoring Cash's wish, for understanding the spirit in which it was made, and for ensuring that his legacy of caring continues through your work. To all of you, family members, but to the students, faculty, and researchers here, thank you for dedicating your lives to helping others. Cash believed deeply in the power of research and education, and I know that his gift is in good hands. One thing that I realized as I was sitting here, I gave a class to the med students, the first year med students, not, 3 weeks ago. And I realized now in this way, Cash is following a little bit in my footsteps and is going to be able to teach them as well. His story is a reminder that even in our most difficult moments, there's always room for compassion and always room for thinking of others. His final act was not about his own struggle, but about helping others, and in the hope that others may have a better outcome than he did. May we all strive to carry forward that same spirit of generosity in our work and in our lives. Thank you.
On behalf of the UCI School of Medicine and UCI Health, we would like to extend one final thank you for your attendance today and to your loved ones for their incredible gifts to our education and to healthcare as a whole. We hope today we are able to share some of our perspective in meeting with, learning from, and caring for your loved ones, and echo a sentiment that each of you already know, that your loved ones were incredibly generous people who made an incredible final choice, in the same vein as the words that we carry with us on our white coats: to discover, teach, and heal. We are honored to have the opportunity to have met with your family members and to have a shared part in the legacy that they left behind. This concludes the Willed Body Program's ceremony of thanks, and please join us with a closing tribute with Christopher.